All right, welcome to class. It's Monday, May 9th. You should have your green graphing notes packet out. We had an assignment. It was assignment 148. It was page 4 and 5. Please make sure that you submitted it. You have 5 IXL skills that you need to continue to work on. Those are due on Friday, the day we will take a quiz. So you are taking a quiz over the graphing. I'm going to do a quiz review session. This is Mr. Baker, so I will do a quiz review session on Friday morning at 8:30. So any students from Baney or my classes, or even Mrs. Clark's class, I don't care, or Mrs. Kern's classes are welcome to attend. So 8:30, meet at door 1, and we will review on Friday. I want to remind you, you have NWA tomorrow, and on Wednesday we'll do English tomorrow and math on Wednesday, so we'll be following the same schedule we did for iLearn. So go ahead and have your packets out and turn to page 4 and 5. We're going to go over the answers to the homework quickly. Whoever's showing this in class can pause to check answers. So on this first page, page 4, you were supposed to show your work, and remember, with ordered pairs, the first number is always your x, the second number is your y, and when you have two variables in a linear equation, you have an infinite number of solutions. And so what this question's asking is the ordered pair that they gave you one of those infinite solutions? And like in A, -8 equals -8, so it worked, so that is a yes. I had a bunch of students in my class say, is -10 the same as +10? Well, that is not the same, obviously, because if you owed $10, it's not the same as having $10. So just remember to show your work, plug it in, and do the math correctly. And it's a good practice with your integer rules. So as we look, number 1, A was yes, B was no, and C was no. Number 2 was no, yes, and then yes. Let's take a look at number 3. Now, number 3, they gave you the x. It's basically the same as the table of values, except they didn't give you the y, and so you're going to plug in 0 on 3. And so when you have 0, you get 1 on 4. -5, 11 is the solution, and 20, -39 is the solution. Your answers on number 7 should be these, -2, 0, and 2, and then you put them together as an ordered pair. Number 8 is -3, 0, and 9. Notice, because they didn't put them in nice, neat order, it's not a nice, pretty pattern, which we're going to look at in the back in a minute. And on this one, this is important to understand. When you see this, this is not saying -x, it's saying the opposite of x. So when we plug in this -3, it ends up being the opposite of -3, which is going to make it +3. And so that is often the confusing one. So if you had 4 there, good, you understood it. If you ended up with -2, then you misinterpreted what that meant. And so that's the tricky one on that one. So number 9, your solution should have been on the back, -4, -9, and -14. And then number 10, -5, -4, -3. You could choose on number 11, you had to make your own table, but the best choices are, notice the coefficient is 4, so you want to choose small numbers, and we always want to choose 0 because it's the easiest, and so I did 0, 1, and 2, so you get 3, 7, and 11. And then on this is important to understand. So when I have a coefficient of 1/3, my denominator is 3, and that is the same as dividing a number by 3. So numbers that work well are multiples of 3. So I do 0, 3, and 6, and then that gives me 2, 3, and 4 for nice, pretty answers. If you didn't do that, then you're going to end up with probably fraction or decimal answers, and 1/3 is a repeating decimal, so it's not really easy to work with. So for example, if I had 1/4, I'd want to choose multiples of 4, because that's the same as dividing by 4, so 0, 4, and 8. If I had 1/8, I would do 0, 8, and 16, because that's the same as dividing by 8. So we'll continue to work with that. And then you were supposed to graph, and you should have a moth or a butterfly, whatever you want to call it, but that's what it should have looked like as you graphed it. If it didn't, then obviously you did not graph appropriately. All right, so to go ahead and turn to page 6 in your packet, and this top part is just a nice little frame of reference for you to remember that when you have an x-axis, which once again we can label it, it's there, x-axis, and y-axis, the vertical axis, when they intersect, they create the origin, which is right here listed. It creates the coordinate plane. The coordinate plane has 4 quadrants. We start here, and we always use Roman numerals. And if you guys think about it, coordinate plane starts with the letter C. If I was going to make a capital letter C, I would start up here in quadrant 1, and then I would go like this. And so that's kind of the order. So that's where you have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. And so as you're looking at those, just as a quick little reminder, quadrant 1 is always a positive and a positive. It's not a bad idea to write this. Quadrant 2 is always a negative number, then a positive. Quadrant 3, both coordinates are negative. It's negative, negative, and then quadrant 4 is a positive number, then a negative, because you're going to go down into the negative. All right, so those are just a quick review of some of the basics with our coordinate plane. Here's what we're going to be doing as we graph linear equations. So we're doing the same thing we did on Friday, except now we're going to be graphing our solutions. And so, as we said on Friday, it's a linear equation, as it's mentioned up here. Linear, and you see the word line, so the solution is going to form a line, which is an infinite number of points. And so we're going to make a table. We're going to choose 3 values. We're going to complete those solutions. Then we're going to graph the ordered pairs, and we're going to draw a line. And in my class, we'll get you a straight edge. You're going to have to do your best, as we normally want you to use a straight edge because that's the most accurate way of doing it. So let's go ahead and we're going to begin. So we're going to go through a bunch of quick examples. And remember, we're going to take this x, we're going to plug it in. And you got to write small. So we're going to go 0 plus 1, and we get 1. So the first ordered pair is 0, 1. Next ordered pair, we go ahead and put in y equals 1 plus 1, and that's going to give us 2. And it's going to be 1, 2. Now, once again, if I'm going too fast for your class, you guys can pause. Then we go y is 2 plus 1, which is 3. So the ordered pair is 2, 3. Now, we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to make this a little bit larger so it's easier for me to plot. And you're going to graph these 3 ordered pairs. So you're going to go 0, 1, plot the point. 1, ooh, Mr. Baker just messed up. All right, so I'm going to, what did I do? All right, hold on. I made a mess of this one. All right, so we're going to erase that point. And remember, we're going to go over 0. All right, so let's fix this, make it right. Bear with me. All right, there we go. All right, we're back in business. All right, so we're going to go, that's 0, 1. So we're going to go over 0, up 1. We're on the y-axis. Then we go over 1, up 2. We're right here. And over 2, up 3. I cannot use a straight edge on my iPad, so I'm going to just freehand it as best I can. And just to get you ready for 8th grade, you then label the line with your equation. So this equation is y equals x plus 1. So you plot your 3 points, and you then draw your line through it. And the reason we choose 3 points is because if you have 3 points, okay, any 2 points will create a line. You can connect any 2 points, but if you have 3 points and all 3 of them line up and create a line, then you can be confident that you have the correct solution. So let's take a look at this next one. So we're going to plug in y equals -5 times, and we're going to plug in 0, and that's going to give me 0. So we're going to be going through the origin. Next point is y equals -5 times 1. And we need to remember same pos, diff, neg. So this is -5. So it's going to be 1, -5. And then we're going to go ahead and plug in 2. Y equals -5 times +2. Signs are diff, so it's -10. So we get -10, and we get 2, -10. And so once again, we'll zoom in. We're going to plot the ordered pairs, and then we're going to graph it, or draw the line. And if you don't get a line, then you know your answer is wrong. So I have lots of students that will end up drawing points, and then they draw and not a straight line. And so they either graphed wrong or they did the wrong math. So over 1, down 5 would be right here. Over +2, down 10. And notice we're going to be going downward like this. And so this slope, as we're going to talk about tomorrow, would be a negative slope. And if you know what you're talking about with slope, you can take a look at it. Once again, we're going to label the line. So it's y equals -5x. And so you're just going to write the equation next to the line. So you know that's what the solution was for that equation. All right, so we look at the next Next one. Now we have 1/2 once again. And so since we have 1/2, this is the same as dividing a number by 2. And so we're going to go ahead and plug in y equals 1/2 times 0 plus 2. Well, half of 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. So you get 0, 2 for your first ordered pair. Then we're going to go ahead and plug in y equals, and since we chose 2, we can simplify. So this is 2, this simplifies to 1. 1 plus 2, because half of 2 is 1. And then 1 plus 2 is 3, so the next ordered pair is 2, 3. And the final one is we're going to do 4 because that is the next multiple of 2. And you can see that 2 and 4, well, that simplifies and becomes 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So the next ordered pair is 4, 4. And so we can go over to our graph. We're going to go over 0, up 2. Over 2, up 3. Over 4, up 4. And we're going to draw our line through. We're going to label our line, y equals, and this once again was what? 1/2 x plus 2. And that's what our solution should look like. And what you will notice is, for example, if I were to follow this, if we did it accurately and we graphed accurately, if you look at 6, for example, 6, 6, 5 would be an ordered pair right here. And if I were to plug in 6 in there, half of 6 is 3, and 3 plus 2 is 5. And you can see any point on this line, if I were to draw that point, put it into the equation, it would work. And that's what that's what that line is trying to show you. These are all the possible ordered pairs for each of these lines, this solution for that equation. All right, so we're going to make our own table now. So we have y equals 1/3 x minus 4. Bring down our y, bring down our x plus, or xy. And now we're going to look and go ahead and say, all right, so I'm always choosing 0 because that is the easiest. I have a coefficient of 1/3, which in this case is the same as dividing by 3. So I want to choose nice, pretty multiples of 3. So I'm going to do 3 and 6. Now we're going to go ahead and plug in. So we'll start the first one. Y equals 1/3 times 0 minus 4. Well, 1/3 of 0 is 0 minus 4. And if you guys aren't seeing this, do your keep, change, but that's -4. So 0 minus 4 is just going to give you -4. So it's 0, -4 for our first ordered pair. Next one is y equals 1/3 of 3 minus 4. And so 1/3 of 3, these simplify and become 1. So it's now 1 minus 4. Do your keep, change if you need to. On this case, this is a positive, this is a negative. Winner is negative, so I'm going to get -3 this time. So the ordered pair is 3, -3. And the final point we're going to choose is y equals 1/3 of 6 minus 4. Well, this is 1, this is 2. And so you get 2 minus 4. Keep, change once again. Winner's negative, and you're going to get 4 minus 2 is 2, and it's -2. And notice we have a nice pretty pattern in our y's, which is what we should have. And we are going to zoom in and graph. And so we're going to go 0, -4. We're on the y-axis once again. 3, -3. And then +6, -2. We'll draw our line as best we can, and then we go y equals 1/3 x minus 4 for our equation. All right, so hopefully you're getting the hang of this, and once again, you're just going to be plugging in points, then you're going to graph them. And finally, let's look at this last one. Now, I'm going to make my table. And this is x, this is y equals, and then we're going to put that, it looks like -x, but we'll talk about that again in a second. And we're going to choose our values of x. So in this case, we do not have a fraction coefficient, so I'm going to do 0, 1, and 2. All right, and we're going to, now, what I want you to notice here, and I want you to put a star next to this one, is this is once again read as the opposite of x. It's not saying negative x, okay? And so when we plug this in for the first one, you can't have negative 0, so this is just 0. It is the opposite of 0, which is just 0, and so the ordered pair is 0, 0. So we look at the next one, y equals, and it's the opposite of positive 1, which is just negative 1, so it's 1, negative 1. And then finally on this one, it is going to be the opposite of 2, which is negative 2, and so it's 2, negative 2. Now, where it comes into play is if I were to give you, say, for example, negative 2. So now, when I plug it in, it would be saying negative, or the opposite of negative 2. Well, the opposite of negative 2 would be positive 2, and so the ordered pair for that would be negative 2, positive 2. All right, and in a moment as we graph it, you might see that that would actually work. And so we look at these closely. We go ahead and plot these. 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 2, negative 2. And then if I went and used this one down here, I'll do it in green just so you see, it goes negative 2, positive 2, and you can see that that would still be on the line as well. And so remember, there's an infinite number of points that would work on this line, including decimals and fractions and all sorts of things. Okay, and so this is the opposite of x. All right, we'll talk more about if you mess up and it doesn't form a nice pretty line, what you can do is always add an extra point. And then you can kind of figure out, because if you, for example, had this line and all of a sudden you plot one point way over here and you got the other points over here, then you know that this was your mistake, and you can go back and look at what you may or may not have done when it came to the math. So your assignment, okay, I believe is assignment 149, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 149. You can just double check in Canvas. But this is your assignment. Now you have NWA tomorrow, so if you finish early, you can work on your, if you don't have this done, hopefully you have it done. But you need to do the same thing. You're going to fill in the points, and then you're going to graph them. The top part here, don't forget to do these, don't forget to do these questions right here where you're plugging in, and these are those yes or no's, all right? So make sure you do these questions. Don't just jump to the graphs. A lot of you guys kind of skip and think it's just directions. So have a wonderful day, and if you have any questions, go ahead and you can email Mr. Baker if you have any questions, or Mrs. Clark or Mrs. Kearns. Have a great day.